share with you to start a story from last Saturday. It actually developed between 1 and 2 p.m. And my son, who's 13, was playing in the jazz band at a contest at Vallejo High School. And I asked my mother and her husband to come and see him. And they were excited. I said, absolutely, as long as it was late enough in the day, because they were at the opera in Pleasant Hill right up until then. So the opera finished late, and I got a call from Mom that said, traffic at the bridge, a little bit nervous, and don't know if I'm going to make it in time. I said, it's okay, Mom, you've got an hour. And I'd given her the directions off of, Google, all the turns and everything all laid out. And she just turned 75. And so she got off Highway 80, having probably never been to Vallejo before, and got this call. I don't know, we might not be able to make it. It was 20 minutes till, because we can't find this street and that street, and we don't know where. And I tried to guide her and go west. Which way's west? Okay, towards the sun. 1 to 2 o'clock. It was kind of moving that way. And so kind of talked her through, and she got closer, and then I got another call. I don't think we're going to make it. We won't be able to see our grandson. I'm sorry. I said, no, I think you're close. And then they sort of caught the thread, and they got there 5 minutes before 2 o'clock. And the way these band contests work, they close the doors because they don't want anybody interfering with the performance. So, 5 minutes to 2, we had 2 blocks to cover. I felt terrible rushing my mom and her husband, down the block and a half. That we made it. The band was a little bit late, and we got in. So after the performance happened and everybody kind of settled down and relaxed, Mom admitted, she says, your sisters, I have 5 of them, gave me a GPS. But it's still in the box because it's kind of scared, I have to turn it on with the and all this. And I said, Mom, what kind? It's a Garmin. I said, well, you know what? You just have to turn it on in your car, and it'll walk you through the steps, and you would have gotten there so much easier. And bless her heart, she did the next day. But you know what? What really struck me from that little story is that business planning is about knowing where you want to get to, figuring out how you're going to get there, and then self-correcting along the way. And she knew where she had to go, and she knew basically how to get there, but the self-correcting part was where she stumbled a little bit, right? And so I've used the GPS for 10 years, and they're great, right? Because once you lay it all out and it figures it out for you, and there's a technology and a methodology there, you screw up just a little bit like we all do, and it's like recalculating, turn left to the next, make a U-turn 30, it's amazingly good about it. And that's what we're really going to do today. We're going to take business planning out of the box, and we're going to get comfortable with it. And we're going to also talk about, at the tail end, how you install that self-correcting feature. Now, a lot of people think of business planning as this big 32-page thing that you write with all this beautiful BS in it that you give to people who give you millions of dollars, the venture capitalists, right? And there is that type of business plan, and that can work really well if you're looking for money. But it doesn't work well to run your business on, and it doesn't work well to build a career as a speaker on, or anything else for that matter, because it's too long and it's too full of words. So we're going to do a very stripped down, simple version of that called the one-page business plan. And it's developed by Jim Horan, and he's been at this for years. And there are hundreds and thousands of companies and people that use this process to actually help them run their business. And that's the difference. If you show this to somebody else on the outside, they might not understand why you want to speak about a certain topic or in a certain direction. But that's not what it's written for. It's written for you to be able to flesh out your thoughts, put your best thinking together, keep it really short, so that every month, maybe more often, you can take a peek at it and go, am I on track? Or do I need to recalculate and adjust my course so that I can get back to your grandson's jazz band concert at Vallejo High School, right? Or wherever else you seek. Now, any methodology won't tell you where you should go. You're going to have to figure that out. It will help you think through it clearly. And this methodology won't tell you the precise tool, which group should you be a part of to get the opportunities you're looking for. You're going to have to think through that. But the methodology will help you stay on track to arrive. So there's 5 fundamental parts, and it really does fit on one page. The first part is the vision. And people use vision, mission all over the place, and everybody has it meaning something different. But the way we're going to define vision is, what's your life going to look like in 3 years? Right? Just, are you going to be speaking for $10,000, 20 times a year, 10 times a year? What topic? If we just met 3 years from now at a cocktail party and I said, so, hey, tell me about what you do. and I was a little bit curious, and you told me that's what the vision statement is. The next thing is the mission, which is really, why do you exist? So it could be to get speaking gigs, but you know, that doesn't sound very motivational. Maybe there's a message that you're trying to get at. You're trying to create something in the world. Maybe that's your mission. But we want it to be really short and really crisp and really clear, so that when you get excited 6 months from now about something else that really doesn't help you get to your vision and it's kind of off track, but you get really excited, not that any of us would ever get excited about new things, you can go, wait a minute, I exist for this reason. And that's not really going to get me there. So either I really think deeply and change the reason I exist, which can happen, or maybe I should ignore that, or let it sit for 2 weeks and see if I'm still excited about it in 2 weeks before I invest my valuable minutes and time in that interesting distraction. And then the third part to the one-page business plan, and you're going to get paperwork on all this that will totally explain all this, so don't worry too much about the notes. The third part is the strategy. So what are you going to do different, unique, and special that's going to get you there? Are you going to have a very high-priced, high-end exclusive strategy and target one niche really carefully? Or are you going to have a broader appeal? Are you going to focus on organizers in their world because that's the door to getting to something else? So you're going to think all things organizers, and that's your path forward. There's got to be some strategy that you have to get yourself there. Strategies typically don't change very often. If you've thought about them well and focused on them well, right, then you're going to keep figuring out, following that strategy, maybe changing the things you do, but hey, that's my main strategy. That's what I'm doing. So that's the third part. The fourth part is objectives. It's the old scorecard thing. So what am I going to celebrate? So if I get 10 speaking opportunities in the next 6 months, I will have hit my target. And then we're going to measure those things. And it could be the number of opportunities. It could be the number of income. It could be learning your craft. There's learning objectives are very important. So I want to get better at A, B, and C in some measurable way. Maybe it's completing a course like this, right? So there's specific measurable objectives. And then the last thing is projects, right, or action plans. So there's chunks of work that just have to get done, right? If you haven't really polished and honed your speech yet, that's a chunk of work. That's not a to-do. That's not something you'll do this afternoon or tonight. That's long periods of time, a lot of effort around it. Great project. If you need to start to build your marketing collateral, your website, your email list, right, and to have a process by which you reach out and touch those people, building that whole process and piece, that's a project, folks. That's not a to-do, right? So we're going to list a couple of those key things, and we're going to say, when are those going to get done? Now, this is painful. This is hateful, because if you don't do them, you're going to look at your plan and go, I didn't do it. You know, a little bit of pain can be motivating too. And you're setting your own course. You're deciding what's most important to you. And for most of us, if you're like me, we're the ones that tend to get ourselves off track. It's not to say it's easy. And it's not to say other things don't bump us off track. But the worst culprit is when we kind of look away and just go off and get seduced by something interesting or all the things that show up in our email box every day, and we forget those key, most important projects. The last thing I'm going to say about this whole process is that you cannot put everything on one page that would be good to do. You just can't, right? That's why it's one page, though. We don't want to give you 4 pages, because then we get everything we want to do, and we don't focus on the most important things. So this is a terrible, hard process of saying, but I've got 2 pages worth of things, I've got to do them. No. What are the specific, most important, most valuable things you can do? And you want to argue that out. If you're in a company, you want to battle it out and fight it out, all at the beginning, because if you don't, then you're putting a little energy here, and a little there, and a little there, and a little there, and pretty soon the most important things don't actually get done. And that's bad. So that's part of the whole process that we're going to go through.